Hi, this is Onio Nyabor, and this is Pro-Lit-Fic, Better Living Through Creativity. And today's topic for the video, we'll be discussing the impact of AI and how we must evolve or die. Now, it's been a big topic of conversation recently with the advent of AI, with ChatGPT and Stable Diffusion coming out in late 2022. And it's only been a year since most of this technology has been released, and it has been so incredibly disruptive. Now, we've had things like Midjourney and a few other things that have been out there where we've had AI art being able to take away the work of creatives, but especially now that it's such high access and so cheap with so many free options, it's become a really hot button topic. And there was even a Writers Guild strike that came out because of the expansive and comprehensive capacity of ChatGPT. So in talking about this, I want to share a story about New York in the early 20th century, late 19th century. A lot of people, if you watch like those old movies, or I live here in New York, you'll go and you'll see a lot of these steps that will ascend into the buildings, right? These are called the brownstones. And a lot of people don't know why they were there. And the reason they were there is because New York during the late 19th century and early 20th century had a huge, disgusting horse manure problem. Basically, the streets were lined with horse doo-doo. And this horse crap would get into the water, it would make people sick, it would also make the horses sick, and then they would die in the streets. And they couldn't remove the horses in the streets until the bodies began to essentially actify and start to rot. And so because of that, there was this rotting, disgusting scene pretty much every day in that time in New York. And then essentially people, in order to ascend into the homes, had to have those steps. Now, with all the troubles they had, they tried to make tunnels, they tried to make other forms of transportation, but there were so many industries dependent on the horse buggies of New York that they couldn't get around the issue, right? And so as a result of that, people were just dealing with this problem, and the city smelled like crap. Until one day, a man by the name of Henry Ford invented the Model T automobile, and horses disappeared overnight because it solved the transportation problem in New York and was a much cleaner solution. And then with all those horses leaving, the horse manure went, but so did so many of the industries, right? Now, at the time, that was a topic of discussion all around the country. But looking back in retrospect, we see that automobiles are better, and we haven't felt any sort of significant disruption because of that, right? But at the time of that transition, it was a big deal for a lot of people. And a lot of horse buggymen, there were issues with it. Now, what can we learn from this? Right now, in today's industry, specifically in the creative, we are dealing with a lot of horse manure, and we're seeing the results of that with our declining mental health, our declining understanding of self, the morals of society failing. For me, I believe it is a cultural issue that comes from basically non-principled storytelling. When you create and sell media and stories and diversion and recreation, not based upon how one interfaces with life, which most play and stories have been throughout all of human history, but when you're more focused on making a dollar. I think one of the principal culprits of this is the mega monolith company, Disney, which in the early 90s made some of the best movies, starting with The Little Mermaid all the way to Tarzan. Heck, even Atlantis was pretty good. But then after that, they have been on a slow decline of creativity, where now they've hit 100 years, released Wish, that movie, and from most critics and its box office performance, it was an incredibly safe, incredibly benign, very uninspired film. And it's not only this in Disney being the culprit, but you see it in our social media, in our news, and what people focus on. Now we'll spend time looking at, oh, well, this is why men and women don't get along, or silly memes on the internet, before we'll understand fable or learn anything about history. And then as a result of that, people are having these unprincipled ways of moving in the world. And that ultimately is horse manure. It stagnates the culture. Now, you might ask, well, if this is the horse manure, is AI the automobile? And that's exactly what I'm going to tell you. AI is that automobile. But before I get into it, I want to ask, before I go any further on that, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this video to someone who may benefit from its message. It's word of mouth referrals like this that go a long way to helping the channel grow so I can continue to spread the good word. Also, please like and subscribe the video. It takes 1 second and makes a massive difference, and I would really appreciate it. And well, as I appreciate you and your support. Now, let's talk about how AI is the automobile for the new generation, because that's exactly what it is. An example for me came when, before I started Pro-Lit-Fic, I was working and trying to create a brand called Mr. Reference, right? And Mr. Reference was really cool. It was basically, I'd create these reference guides, and they would teach people all these different subjects from all these different things, and it would just be these quick little snippets. I'm really proud of it, and you'll probably see more of it in the future. But at the time, I wasn't able to access and really create something viable out of it. Not because it wasn't a good idea, but because I was so incredibly over-leveraged. I had to hire a graphic designer or do it myself. I had to write the books myself. I had to do the ad copy myself. I had to create the funnel myself. All the videos myself. And because I wasn't a centerpiece of the video, I had to learn how to draw, I had to learn how to animate, I had to learn how to design. There was all these skill sets that I had to learn and master just to pull off and create a minimum viable product for something and test it out in the market and do it several times before it was solvent and could make me any money. This has made it so difficult for so many creatives to get into the space and be able to move past the gatekeepers. Because of, we might have a lot of issues with, say, Big Daddy Amazon or all these huge companies, but ultimately, things like Uber, things like Airbnb, things like Amazon made it possible by simplifying the distribution channels upon which people can create a new life for themselves. And I think AI is that for us creators. I think it's a good thing for writers that AI exists and that ChatGPT is there. I think it's a good thing for writers that the technology and artists, that Stable Diffusion is a thing. Because of these things, now work that would take hours upon hours now can take minutes. And from needing a 10, 12, 100 person team to create a project, now you can do that with maybe a few dozen. Heck, even on a smaller scale, what would take 4 or 5 people a year to complete, a single person can do in a matter of weeks because of AI and the technology that comes with that. So we've now been able to leverage and create way more viable options for our time. And so because of this, it's still so new, yet there's all these possibilities that are coming out to be able to create basically your dream life, your dream career. You can now absolutely be a creative in a way that you couldn't have access to before. I don't think AI is taking jobs away. I think it's creating jobs. I think it's creating industries. I don't think it's hurting it at all. But that's only going to happen if people can understand and are willing to learn the new skill sets, which once again, this stuff's brand new. We just learned about it. So we need to go in with open eyes and open ears and an open heart to try and figure out how this stuff works. And I know that if we do, even looking at this video with these thumbnails, I was able to make these gorgeous thumbnails enough in a matter of seconds. Whereas before, I would have to pay someone, wait 3 or 4 days, go $50 down. It was so much work and so inviable. But now we can do it at the click of a button. And now from being able to use my phone, there's just so many opportunities now with our creativity. Whether you're a writer, whether you're an artist, whether you're an animator or a musician, you have so many options now because of this technology. We just have to learn how to utilize it and create a model so we can live a life doing our passions. AI is going to enable you to live a better life if you can learn to master it. And how does this solve the horse manure problem of all the stuff we're dealing with these crappy corporations? Well, now, because before, the reasons we have to deal with Disney destroying Star Wars, the reason we have to deal with Michael Bay's Transformers, the reasons we have to slog through the Marvel Phase 4 and on is because only people who had tons of money and tons of resources were able to create any type of viable product that could compete. But now, you look at what one person is able to do, like say with the Astartes HD. I'll put in a link for the Astartes thing. Maybe I'll put a clip up here. But that's a Warhammer 40k video. That's what one person's able to do with the tool of Blender, right? And they didn't have any AI assistants. They were just doing that. But it's the idea of when you create a more powerful tool and people are willing to use it, you enable someone to do so much more. Like, I think of an example. Back in the day, like, a 7-year-old couldn't do anything on a battlefield, but now you can give them an AK-47 and they can wipe out a room of dudes. That's a pretty macabre example, but you get what I mean. I'm basically saying that it's a tool, and if we learn how to do it, not only do I think we'll have better careers and more inspired people, but I think the people who are willing to master this stuff will tell better stories, create better content, and they'll get us out of this sludge fest of social media, like lowbrow, low humor, just stupid content that's out there and eroding the brains of people. And then the principled people, the evolution of true quality, the best and brightest people will be able to rise to the top because there will be no more gatekeepers getting in their way. And that is what I believe. And no computer, no matter how advanced, because I know Terminator and The Matrix and iRobot have been said, but ultimately those things will never be able to take away what we have, which is the human spirit, which is ultimately our source of our creativity comes from source, and it is love. And though I may think that computers might be able to love, they'll never be able to replace that, what makes us distinctly human. Anyway, if you like this video and you want to see more, please like and subscribe. As well, if you need any help breaking through your creative blocks and unleashing it, feel free to book a time with me personally. There will be a link down in the description below. And guys, remember, you are human, you are love, and nothing we do will ever replace that, even the greatest tools on the planet. Take care, have fun, stay happy, stay healthy. Peace.